Yes. I just wish I knew how to do photo share or screen share on my phone, because even though the pictures don't do it justice at all whatsoever. I mean, you've been chasing, but that was probably the nicest structure I think I've ever seen, at least here in the Midwest. I know that for a fact.
And with that, we've been live for like 45 seconds, and the first thing you said on the live thing was yes. So that's a perfect open.
That's the theme of this week is yes.
Yeah, this week is the yes episode. Next week will be the 100th no episode. But Jeff and Matt here discussing weather because there's no guest. Unlike last week where Derek got crazy with trees and bushes. Good grief, trees and bushes and craziness. And then what happens? We have the lovely springtime severe weather this past week. And then this week and tonight, and especially for us here, the white stuff's coming back.
Boo.
Yeah, it couldn't stay warm all the time. So
after the Tuesday I had, I don't ever want to see a snowflake ever again.
Yeah, Tuesday was the day of the severe weather. And unlike the funny thing about Tuesday, and we'll discuss that because I'm going to discuss what happened with me.
Okay.
We had the tornado watch was issued, and I was here with Henry, because we were going to do our live coverage, our first one in almost a year. This Henry's stuff has all been fixed and everything, and blah blah blah, and everything had been set up. So this was going to be pretty much our first thing. It was going to be a trial run because we didn't think this was going to be a big deal.
Right.
So I'm like, these are boring storms because there was no warnings yet. So I had to go buy groceries. So I said, so my mother came because she was doing some work like right down the street from me.
Oh, yeah,
Came to my apartment. I happened to look outside and see her, and I was like, she didn't call. So then I was like, okay, I told Henry, I'm going to go to Walmart because I just run out here to Walmart and get stuff, and I'll be back. So I leave. I come back. There's warnings. All of not tornado warnings, but just severe thunderstorm warnings. The ones down by Keokuk. And he's on live on our stream, which is on YouTube for those that want to watch. And so we were doing that, and they started issuing tornado warnings. And that was the storm that would go on to produce several tornadoes all the way to Peoria, including one that was fairly large. At one point, they said it was a mile wide, but that was incorrect. It was not.
Yeah, there's no way that tornado was a mile wide.
Yeah, it was reported as that. It was reported as, or it was the storm report came out as saying that it had been a mile wide, but then they had to correct it and said, no, it was just slightly over a half mile wide, which made a little better sense. But anyway, so then there was those storms. And then we had the storms that came up toward the Quad Cities that then started producing tornadoes.
Yep.
And then that's when it got a little too exciting for me when we were doing our coverage, because we have use of the DOT cams.
Okay.
So we can look at the DOT cams, not like you can go publicly where you get video for maybe 10 seconds and then it stops.
Right.
We have we can watch them forever.
Oh, wow.
We can't move them. Although
Although
technically we can, but we can't, we don't. But we can move them but only if there was like a DOT person around.
I gotcha.
So anyway. But so we had cameras out. Our cameras up on our screen. And one of them was from the I-80, I-74 interchange where they're building the Rhythm City Casino.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one was at LeClaire. And you can see flashes of lightning. On the LeClaire camera, all of a sudden there was this lightning strike, which was seen on both cameras. One was looking from where the Rhythm City Casino in the Quad Cities is, down Interstate 80 looking east toward LeClaire, and the other one was near the LeClaire exit looking west. You could see the lightning on both. Then on the LeClaire camera, you saw power flashes. I saw it. Henry saw it. I started getting crazy, thinking, oh my gosh, what's that? And I saw the power flash again. And I thought, okay, what is that? And then they said there was a tornado on the ground very close to that area. It was actually across the river. It was near Rapids City. Not Rapid City, Rapids City. That was the
Rapid
tornado
City
that was
and
on the Illinois side of the river. But I was like, okay, then something happened in LeClaire. I don't think it was a tornado, but it was probably strong winds or something to the effect. Because
I would say there was a little bit of damage in LeClaire. I would say that damage is probably RFD because right where the damage was, I think, the tornado very briefly was actually on the river based on the storm track, the tornado track that the National Weather Service put out. I think when the tornado was actually on the river, the RFD wrapping around on the back side was what caused that damage in LeClaire.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting to note that right after that we lost the LeClaire camera and we didn't have it for the rest of the duration. So, but that storm went on to produce tornadoes in Clinton County, and I mean it would look like those typical spin up tornadoes, but because you would see them on radar really clearly for like 3 or 4 scans, and then they disappear so quick.
Yep.
And that happened at least on 2 of the 3 Clinton County storms. One of them, which was the last one in Clinton County, came up so clearly that all these people nationally saw it and were like freaking out that there was some big, huge tornado on the ground north of Clinton. It lasted 3 miles. It was on the ground for 5 minutes or 6 minutes, something like that. But it looked like, oh my gosh, it's a nasty tornado. I think it was an EF1. It didn't hit hardly anything. So
that's the thing up there in the northern, I'd say half of Clinton County. There's not a whole lot there at all.
It's somewhat hilly. There's not many things there. There's small towns, a couple farms, whatnot, but there isn't lots there for it to hit. And if it does hit it, and this would be this kind of snide remark. If it hits it, it probably improves it. Something to that effect. Sorry for the people that live there, but yeah, if you can have a tornado come and destroy something, and you can then get something out of it that's better off, then you'd be like, yay, come tornadoes. Anyway,
true, kind of true.
So we did that, and our coverage, because it's on YouTube, plug, was probably one of our best. I actually said that was our best coverages, and Henry agreed, because it was pretty, especially when we had power flashes. We had the picture. We bounced onto the Iowa Illinois Memorial Bridge, which, as you know, being a Quad Cities person, is the I-74 bridge. Well, we went to the camera and the lights on the bridge were out. There were no lights on the bridge at all. And I was like, I'm sorry, that bridge is not supposed to be dark. And that's when I was like, my eagle eye went out, like, okay, something's going on with power flashes, or something's happening because the power is going out. Because we had not had this problem with any of the other storms until they got into the Quad Cities, which is typical when a storm comes in, a storm, tornadic or severe, when it comes into a major metro area, it's going to do something, and you're going to find out about it. Well, we did find out about it. So, and the funny, this isn't funny, but this is a coincidence. The second tornado in Clinton County, which was the Lowmore tornado, hit the Royal Pines mobile home court that's west of Clinton.
Right.
That same mobile home court was hit last April from the Clinton's tornado from last year. They had damage from that tornado. So that mobile home park got hit again. I don't know if the tornado's like, oh, there's a mobile home court, let's hit it again. the tornado from last year in Clinton was stronger, but not when it was at the mobile home port.
Right.
This tornado, Tuesdays was weaker, but it went through the mobile home court, unlike when it just kind of skimmed it and it flipped mobile homes and a couple people were injured.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no fatalities that I'm aware of. No. There was a couple of injuries. I think it was 3 from the Clinton tornado, the one in the mobile home park, Royal Pines.
Right.
And then there was 10 in the Illinois one, the one that was right along the Mississippi on the Illinois side.
Yes, 10 injuries.
Yeah, so nobody died, and that's a good thing. People were taking precautions, I would assume. I did see on our cameras when we were looking, when there was all these tornado warnings in the Quad Cities, there was a lot of people driving. And not as many as I thought there would be, especially truck traffic at that time of the night because it was getting dark. That there was trucks, but a lot less than normal because I think a lot of the trucks had pulled over. There was quite a few cars, but
you
can't stop everybody.
Right.
Especially if some of them were chasers, which I doubt because most of them were down by Macomb and looking at the tornado that went in toward Peoria, or even down further south toward Springfield, which was hit. And
yes,
I don't know.
Was.
I don't know. We had, I think the count was 8 tornadoes. There may have been more. I don't know. And
I think the last count I saw was 8.
Yeah. So of these tornadoes, here's what we have. 1 tornado in the city limits of Peoria, 1 in or near the city limits of Springfield, Illinois. Mm-hmm. We had 1 at least in the metro area of the Quad Cities. So 3 of the 8 tornadoes were in metropolitan areas. Coincidence? Kind of creepy. And it's only and everybody's like, oh, it's a major outbreak. Yeah, that's nice. It was 8 tornadoes. Yeah, 3 of them happened to go into big cities. Well, bigger cities. But nobody was
very
killed.
dense populated areas, very densely populated areas.
Yeah. So nobody died. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, because that was here, and then unfortunately, then it got cold. Back then on Sunday, there was what I would consider a similar outbreak of tornadoes in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And those seemingly were almost about the same type of tornadoes that we had up here on Tuesday. They didn't last very long. Some of them were quite nasty, but I don't think I heard of anybody being killed then either on Sunday. There was quite a bit of damage, but I don't.
The last count I heard as far as injuries was 14 or 15 total from the Arkansas storms.
Yeah, so if you think about it, it's roughly similar to Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Just a dozen or so injuries. Nobody died. And especially up here for March, when it's not tornado season, unless it's March 1990, when it's not tornado season yet, especially when tonight and into tomorrow, it's going to be snowing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like the transition period where you have to tell people, okay, we could have a tornado today and snow tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because literally you could have a forecast where it says tornadoes today, snow tomorrow.
Yep.
That you have to have your mindset on any weather, anytime, right now, because you could have anything. So for people, especially when it hasn't even been severe weather awareness week, and we've already had a preview, at least in this part of the state, central and western Iowa, they're like, severe weather, what's that? But eastern Iowa, we've already had our severe weather. And they actually, because of Tuesday's event, they delayed the statewide tornado drill in the state of Missouri. It was done.
I noticed that.
It was done on Thursday, yesterday. It was supposed to be Tuesday. That not only included the entire state of Missouri, that included the entire metropolitan area of Kansas City, which would have included the Kansas suburbs as well. So you had all of Kansas City, St. Louis, the entire state of Missouri, no tornado drill because there's a tornado threat in northeastern Missouri. And as some people would know, northeastern Missouri is not chock filled with people. So
Except for St. Louis.
Yeah, but St. Louis is not northeastern Missouri. And they weren't in the tornado threat. It was mainly areas like Hannibal. It was even east of Kirksville. The tornado watch didn't even include Kirksville. It was east of there. Places it was like I'm gonna really get myself on county names, like Knox, Lewis, Scotland. Gosh darn, I'm gonna because there's wait a minute. Knox, Lewis, Clark, Scotland. I think Shelby.
Yep.
Rawls County, I think, was in it, which was Hannibal. And then it went off, and maybe Pike County, both Pike counties, Pike County, Illinois, and Pike County, Missouri. Then West Central Illinois, the area around Macomb. Macomb is typically anywhere west of Peoria is like barren. Macomb would be the largest city in that area, and they only have like 10,000 people, and that's mainly.
But Quincy is a pretty big town. That's the home of Western Illinois University,
and that's the reason why it's big, because of Western Illinois.
Yeah.
And I should note, Western Illinois is a meteorology school. We do have meteorology there. So I'm sure all the Western Illinois people were like running up north of town to see a tornado. They didn't have to go.
Actually, they were all south. I can't tell you how many vehicles I saw when I was out chasing that had WIU stickers. I counted 6 WIU official vehicles out on the out there Tuesday.
And where was this? Because we're gonna ask what happened with your day then.
This was probably 10 minutes before I came up on the wall cloud in what town was that? Just a second, let me find it.
Yeah, you're asking me, and I'm like, I was here doing this. Was it the storm going toward Macomb, or was it further south than that?
It was the really big storm south of Macomb. I'll tell you the town right now. I got my radar scope up. I love this about Weather Scope. Okay, there's Hannibal. This would have been where did I This would have been Mendon, Illinois.
Okay.
That's where that southernmost storm first started really getting organized and started putting down tornadoes, was around the town of Mendon.
Okay.
And then it tracked up kind of northeast in that direction towards Macomb and Peoria.
Okay. So it was the storm. Yeah, it was one of those. There were still many of them though, but there was so they went south.
Sorry, my dog's barking like crazy.
The dog is barking because it's daytime now, since we're on daylight time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stop him.
While Matt does that,
Dozer. Okay, now we're good.
Yes, now he's gotten the thing.
All right, we're good now. We are good now.
Okay.
And I'm back.
So
yes, around the town of Mendon was where I started seeing those chase vehicles. There was a little bit of a chaser convergence right off the highway there, just south of there, of that town. I pulled over to just kind of see what storm was going to happen, or what storm was going to really take over, because there was 3 or 4 little cells in a little bitty line right next to each other. I mean, literally, the updrafts were butted right up against each other. You could see all 4 on the horizon to the west, and still have blue sky on either side.
Yeah.
It looked like one was kind of taking over, and then Tail and Charlie would kind of take over for a second, and then the other one would kind of take over for a second. It was playing leapfrog for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, the same things happened with the tornadoes further up here in the Quad Cities, because you had multiple rotations, but they kept bouncing between which one was dominant, and it was so difficult to figure out which one was the dominant one and which one was occluding and whatnot. It was so frustrating.
Yep, it was the same thing with this up until the big storm really took over. And then it was gangbusters from then. The Tail and Charlie just kind of went away. I mean, it stayed there. There was an updraft, there was an anvil, but there was hardly any lightning or even any rain with it. But when that one cell went gangbusters, it was pretty obvious which one was gonna be the storm of the day down there. And everybody I had my spotter network on radar scope, and as soon as that first warning went up, all the red dots just went, they just shrunk in on that one cell.
So yeah, and of course the storms, the tornadoes down there were, in fact, almost all of them toward the end were pretty much rain wrapped, that they were very difficult to see, especially as it was getting toward nightfall.
Yeah, I broke it off right at about sunset because I had to get back up here to home. I didn't want to mess around with night chasing. I don't like night chasing. And plus I didn't want to, drive at night through baseball size hail and destroy my truck. So I broke it off early. I didn't really see any tornadoes. I saw what I thought was the beginning of one of the tornadoes, just because I saw the dust roll at the ground, but I was driving and I was alone. So I took my eyes off the tornado and put them back on the road because I was getting back in the rain, and I didn't want to find myself on the wrong road and drive into the dang thing. So I only saw the beginning of one for maybe 5 seconds, and that was it.
And where was that then?
That was right there at Menden.
Okay.
Just east of there.
So then I assume when you drove back home, you were driving back into more storms.
There was one or two storms just west of the line, just kind of hanging out behind the boundary. But other than that, it was just the big rain mass. I drove back through heavy rain all the way till pretty much the S curves in Cedar Rapids, and then it trailed off.
Yeah, which figures, because the lightning here was very vivid and nasty. So
yeah,
at least we got rain, because we can use any rain we can get. But yeah, that was the Tuesday event. Kind of like a lot of people seemingly were disappointed, but I'm thinking it's March. We're not expecting like a Joplin tornado in March. Yeah, you can get them, but don't expect it. Or we're not going to get a Moore, Oklahoma, or an April 27th. Yeah, we may get an April 27th type event, but it won't be here. It'll be down in the South this time of the year. So I think people were over expecting, and then when it didn't get what they wanted, it was a disappointment. But 8 tornadoes.
I think it was a big day for structure. If you're a structure nut like I am, that storm, I mean, I think I sent you one picture. I don't even know if you even got it, because you didn't even acknowledge that you got it.
I saw it after the fact, because I could not see anything on Twitter and whatnot, because when with our coverage, and this is one sad case of this, is that with the dogs barking, that when I'm doing coverage, I am like looking at a radar, watching coverage through the Hangout, because we do it on Hangout.
Right.
So I'm looking at that, looking at stuff, looking at the stream at the IEM bot to make sure what's coming out, like warnings, or
Right.
any type of stuff that's coming out, which could also be in our chat room chat session that we have with our group, which I don't trust because I don't like it. And too bad, Henry, I don't care. And sometimes it's slightly delayed because you never know when the IEM bot is going to be faster than our chat session thing. So I never can tell. Anyway, so I have the IEM bot up because I then copy and paste the warnings that come out and I post those to Twitter. For those that think, oh, there's all these weather people that post warnings, those are automated. The warnings that come from yours truly, I put on myself. I don't trust no automated system. That's why some warnings don't get put, because there's a good chance that it's either A, not home, B, I'm too busy that I can't get to them, or C, we have too many of them and I start to have to pick and choose which ones are more important. So,
Right.
So in hindsight, tornado warnings trump everything, and there were so many of those. I think I skipped at least one severe thunderstorm warning. Sorry, but I don't trust automated especially because we've had automated for quite a while on our network. It comes and goes when it feels like it. I mean,
wow.
Our stuff's all automated now to our Facebook pages, our Twitter. We have pages, mind you. Our Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, because we have multiples, and everything. So, because that's one less worry. But for me, I still do it manually because I've done it manually since I started my blog back in 2008. So if I want, and I've noticed of lately my tweets have dropped off because I don't tweet as much, but
right.
unless
I've noticed that.
Unless it's like about Formula One last night, which I then went crazy because I was watching Formula One last night. But
I'm a little jealous.
But
I wanted to watch that so bad, but I did not have the chance to because I worked 13 hours yesterday and I didn't get a chance to even see anything.
Yeah, so because Formula One, the qualifying is tonight at like midnight or 1 a.m.
Yeah.
First practice, yeah. This was funny because I mentioned this on Twitter because Formula One, you're like, and people will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, good Lord." But this is weather related. I'll mind you. Formula One. They are in Australia, in Melbourne, and they're having a little bit of interesting weather down there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cold. It's way too cold. Temperature's about in the 60s.
That's way too cold for their tires.
Well,
way
sure.
too cold for their tires on a road course or on a street course.
It would be considered a street course at Albert Park. But anyway,
yes.
So what's happened? It's 60 something degrees. It's pouring rain. Oh, but wait! 5 minutes later, rain stops. The sun's out again. 10 minutes later, then for 20 minutes, the track starts to dry out. Then they go back out on dry slicks. Then all of a sudden, boom! It downpours again. And then you see cars skidding all over the place. And then 10 minutes of pouring down rain, nobody goes out. Then it dries out again. Then it pours again. Did this all through the first practice session. It did it all through the second practice session. So they got no running at all yesterday because it kept, every time the track would start to dry out, it would then just downpour from little tiny little showers coming from absolutely nowhere. It would just dump on the circuit. And the funny thing was, and this happened several times, part of the circuit was being dumped on while another part of the circuit was bathed in sunshine. And this, we're not talking like a big circuit. Maybe from one end to the other is maybe 2 miles. One end is pouring down rain, the other end is sunny. And it was that strange that, and you're thinking, okay, evidently the weather is messed up because...
Can I just say that I am so glad that I am not employed as a chief engineer for one of those teams, like say McLaren or Mercedes or Ferrari, because making a tire decision like that on a day like that is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm in on those decisions in drag racing. You can't drag race in rain, period. And when you have 4 or 5 different sets of slicks with different characteristics, different rollouts, I could go on for days about just those tires. On the funny car team that I'm a part of, I'm sitting in on the decision making process when that goes down, and even with a custom prepared surface on a completely dry track, it's still just a shade under a nightmare trying to figure out just exactly what tire to fit on your car. So I can only imagine going from wet to dry, wet to dry, wet to dry. Because those groove slicks that they use for or those treaded slicks, that's basically what they are, just slicks with tread kind of cut into them. That's what Formula One uses.
Formula One, it's pure slicks now. They don't do they don't have the treads on them anymore.
They don't do tread anymore?
No,
Oh,
they're pure slicks again. They've been that way for a couple of years now.
But even so,
yeah.
The tread compound is so different. Even when they did have the treaded tires, the tread compound or the rubber compound is so drastically different on those that if you get even a little bit of variance in temperature, going from warmer to colder, it upsets the handling of the entire car, and it renders those cars almost uncontrollable because all their grip is based on aerodynamics. Because there's very little suspension involved in generating grip.
Yeah.
Nowadays, since they're so down on power, compared to the V10 and V12 turbo days, when they're making over 1,000 horsepower, nobody will tell you that, but I can tell you right now, they were making well north of 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
All their grip nowadays, since they're down on power, is about 90% aerodynamics. And when you don't have a tire, basically what that means is that you have to go as fast as you possibly can for that car to work. It only handles at the limit. Over the limit, obviously it won't. Under the limit, it won't. You'll just spin out and crash.
Yeah.
So when you have even the smallest upset in any of those variables with those treaded tires back then, it was just a nightmare. So I'm so glad that I was not involved in that race in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so we're going to do something. I'm sure you're like seeing my banner on my screen going, which I'm going to then go over to here. You'll be like, what is this new feature that we're going to be using? So I thought, okay, we're going to try this. So this is weather news you can use. I guess that sounds really cheesy. But anyway, the first thing that we have on here is that we found out that Randy Brock at KTTC is leaving in July to get out of the business. He's going to go into real estate. He's been at KTTC for like ever. It was put in there's an article supposedly in the Rochester Post Bulletin today about his leaving. So, but for those that have watched the show for a long time, Randy was on show number 7, 92 shows ago. So he will be still at KTTC until July. And as Henry said, because Henry lives in that television market, that of the 3 major stations up there, all 3 have had their chiefs all leave within a year, or a year to year and a half. So
really,
a year or two, something like that. So there's a lot of turnover around. So we'll have to see what happens up there, and we wish Brandy the best for the next 4 months that he's going to still be at work, and then he'll go into real estate. And I find it funny that there's so many weather people that seemingly are in real estate. I don't know if it's like a thing. It's like, to be a weatherman, you must know real estate. Okay. Is that like a thing? I don't know.
I'm not
But
sure.
there's I know of several, at least 2 or 3 or 4 weather people that have gone into real estate. So I don't know. It's like you make more money or something. Maybe I don't know. But I think
I would
Randy
say
will
you
have.
probably make more money. Because
I
I know
think
a few realtors myself, and they make pretty good money.
Yeah, so I think Randy is going to make quite a bit of more money doing that than being at work doing Sunny and 75 or whatnot. So
That just makes me think, when you have that many chiefs in one area leaving in such a small time period, just makes me think if the people up there, the meteorologists up there, are just getting burnt out. It just makes me wonder. I don't know. Maybe it's all just a big coincidence, and it very well could be. I'm not saying it isn't, but
so
I just think that
the next business that we attend to, Jason Parkin is leaving his job in Des Moines at KCWI Channel 23 in Des Moines because the station is going to be fully integrated with WOI, since Channel 23 is being bought by Nexstar, and which owns Channel 5. That the news operation that Channel 23 has will be absorbed into Channel 5, so Jason will not be needed as the meteorologist there. Talked about doing some karate thing. I'm not sure if that's in jest or something, but and it's sad because he's been in weather in Des Moines. He was in weather in Des Moines when I was in college, and that goes back ways. So he was at Channel 8 back then. So he announced that he's good. His last day will be on April 1st, which is in 2 weeks.
wow.
So unlike Randy, who has a couple months, Jason only has 2 weeks before his job is done.
Yikes.
So, but I think it was obvious that he knew it was coming. So,
and he's just making his move.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that and whatnot. But those are the 2 big weather factors that I had that I know of. I can't remember of any others. Do you have anything newsy?
Other than, well, this is a bit of a good news. It's not really a news story, but I'll call it good news. Good news from the chase by Matt Chess. On Tuesday, obviously, I don't know. This is my first time out really chasing in quite a while, probably 9 or 10 months. It's been quite a while. And there were so many chasers out that day, especially down there, because that was the hot spot. That was the storm of the day, from what I could tell. It amazed me at just how well behaved everybody was on the roads. I mean, there were a lot of chasers. There was not a time once that one storm became dominant and everybody realized it, and it started dropping tornadoes. Everybody flocked to that one storm.
Yeah.
And and there wasn't a time where when I was moving, I was not behind a chaser and there wasn't another chaser behind me. Everybody was extremely well behaved. Speed limits weren't broken over what everybody on the face of this earth does. I never went over 10 over the limit. I can say that with absolute confidence. Everybody watched what they were doing. It seemed like they were paying attention. It went really well. There was no real traffic jams. And there were a couple times where it got kind of hairy. I don't remember for the life of me what town it was, because I was chasing alone, which isn't a good idea for everybody listening. It's not the best idea to chase alone. Always have somebody with you that can watch radar or watch outside or drive, depending on what you want to do. But I got pretty close to the wall cloud. It was about 10 minutes after the time I took the photo that I sent you, which was about halfway through that storm's evolution. It was about halfway between where it touched off at Hannibal and Peoria. It was about half the distance between there.
Yeah.
So it was about halfway through that storm's evolution, or through that supercell's evolution. I got what I would consider a little too close to the mesocyclone and the wall cloud. I was right on the edge of the bear's cage, I would call it. I was in the rain. It was nasty. A little bit of hail, thank the good Lord. But even then, I mean, you could tell when everybody realized that they were in the bear's cage, because it kind of snuck up on us a little bit, because everything got absorbed in rain. But as we were driving, the rain shield got physically larger.
Yeah.
From what I could tell, and when it overtook us, when the rain overtook us, you could tell that everybody realized, holy crap, we're in the bear's cage. And even then, everybody was really well behaved. You know, we pulled off. Some of us pulled off the side of the road and just kind of waited it out and see what happened. Some of the others kept driving and turned off in different directions. I turned around and went the other way to just get out of the rain, because I figured with how strong that meso looked before it got wrapped up in the rain, there was little doubt in my mind that if I kept driving, I wouldn't have been driving right into a tornado. So I just turned right around. It turned out that wasn't the case, but at the time, I didn't want to take any chances. But anyways, everybody was very well behaved. I didn't see any craziness. Everybody was obeying the traffic laws, doing what they were supposed to do to keep themselves and everybody else safe. And it was a really, I guess, a good tip of the cap to the chaser community that there were that many chasers in one spot, and nothing real eventful happened as far as the chasers go. So good job, chasers. Very nice work.
Okay, now it's time for me to get really get all sour about it. Was it and this is not, this opinion is not based on me, but is it because they were all in a good mood, is because it was March and not April or May, and for the fact that in April and May, you have these storm tours that are like, we have to get to the tornado. We got to go, fast, drive 100 miles an hour to get to the tornado. Because I don't see people saying, come book a tour for tornadoes in March. I don't see that. So
that might be true.
Because it's like hype. Everybody wants to hype up late April, from mid to late April through early June. It's like hype. Nobody hypes up mid-March. Like March, really boring.
Well, it's too unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible for the middle 2 weeks of March to go relatively tornadoless.
Or
around the entire
instead
country.
of having a blizzard.
Yeah.
So I'm at least happy that chasers didn't get crazy, because especially for the fact it was in some cases it was their first chase, but some of them it was their second or third or fourth, because several of them came up from Oklahoma. A few did.
I saw quite a few from Oklahoma. There's a lot of OU stickers, a lot of Oklahoma plates.
Yeah.
Those guys seem to do just as well as everybody else, even though I assume that all the Oklahoma guys are pretty veteran chasers. I did not run into like talk to, but I stopped at the same gas station as Tony Laubach from the former Twistex group.
Yeah.
He was chasing with one of the meteorologists from his TV station, WSIL.
Yeah.
Always good to see him. I've been a fan of his forever and ever and ever since the Storm Chasers TV show was out. And yes, I was a fan of that and watched it
Uh-oh. That could be trouble.
because of Twistex.
Yeah.
I loved Twistex. I did not so much care for Sean Casey, and I haven't really cared a whole lot for Reed ever since he became popular.
Uh-oh.
So what? Shoot me. That's my opinion. Nobody's gonna change it. But the way that Twistex conducted themselves in that show was very, very good, I think. But anyways, I ran into him. In fact, I think he was in the middle of a Facebook live stream because he was holding his phone out the window as I was pulling in to get gas. In his little blue Subaru wagon that he's had for quite a while. I saw Donovan Gruner out. Connor McRory, I saw him out.
So it's the who did Matt see out on the chase on Tuesday?
It was cool to see. It was the first time in a long time that I've actually been on a real chase.
And you could do it because you weren't stuck working somewhere.
Yeah, I wasn't stuck working. It was a good time. You know, my wife was at work. I had the day to myself, and it wasn't 800 miles away. It was a good setup, and it wasn't 800 miles away.
Yeah, and if stuff like that, it's like, yep, we'll go. And you see good structure. You see a few interesting cells. You see what could be a tornado. Yeah, that's good.
I'd call that a win.
Yeah, given that it's March, because
March in Illinois.
And honestly, if in hindsight, in a normal year, we'd still be waiting at least till mid-April before we may see something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then when you look at the forecast now, yeah, we may not see that again for a while, because it just looks relatively. There's a couple of days in the next, if you look at the next 2 weeks, that it's relatively going to be somewhat warm, but in most cases, it's going to be pretty cold.
Yep.
I'm not saying bitter cold like we're heading sub-zero, but I'm more or less saying it ain't going to be
cold relative to where we're at in the year.
Yeah. So highs of the 40s, lows or 40s and 50s, lows in the 20s and 30s. I mean, it ain't going to be. We can't have 60s and 70s and even an 80 or so every day. We'll have to wait on that for at least another month to two.
Yep.
For that. So
I agree.
But outside of that, other news that I only know of those two things, and then your chase news. Trying to think if there was anything else that I knew of. Probably is. Don't know it at this point. So I'll probably.
Another thing on the chasing. One more quick thing. I saw when I got home, I started going through Twitter and Facebook and stuff and all the various websites, going through, looking at all the storm photos everybody took. There's a lot of really good photographers out there now. Usually, back in the day, there was, when I first really got into weather, there was only a few websites that I could go to get really good current chase photos, from storms, in the relative, current time frame.
Yeah.
And now it seems like there's hundreds of people out with great cameras doing great shots and doing them quickly and safely.
And the thing is, those cameras aren't cheap. So
no.
As I know, because I have a cheap digital camera and it can't take pictures at night worth a darn. So
all the pictures I took were on my iPhone. I ran my entire chase off of my iPhone. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yay! So
I did radar. I did my GPS. I could just switch over. I didn't have to close out and find the app. I could just switch over with the thumb scroll feature.
Yeah.
I just scroll back and forth really quick, see where I was, compare that to what the radar was looking like, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Good day, really, really good day. I'm excited for if we get more days like that. I'm excited for chasing in 2016.
Yeah. So outside of that and the other weather, nothing else happening except, oh, we have to mention this. The flooding in the south. Flooding. Everything's flooding. So
That's downright terrible.
I-10 just reopened at the Sabine River. So it just reopened today. So you
After
couldn't
what,
even
2
travel
weeks?
on I-10 from Texas to Louisiana or Louisiana to Texas because it was flooded. You
After
can
what,
now.
2 weeks was it?
What?
It was what, 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that?
The road was closed for about a 5-6 days,
Oh, okay.
but that pretty much meant that you could not travel between those two states. And the detour was go to I-20. Well, I-20 is a good 300 miles north.
Yep.
So that tells you how bad it was.
Yep.
If to get from Houston to New Orleans, if you wanted to get by interstate, because I wouldn't take any other roads crossing the Sabine River or anywhere because of the flooding, you would have had to drive somewhere north of Houston all the way to I-20, somewhere near Tyler, Texas, and then through Shreveport, down I-49 through Alexandria to Lafayette to New Orleans. The detour would have been at least somewhat 10 or 12 hours more than it would have taken you normally. And it reminded me of the flood of 2008 to a certain extent, with the
That
detours being outrageous. But
when you started talking about going up north and stuff, that flashed me back to the day that the flood really kicked off around here, June 13th, Friday the 13th.
you
I
know,
was working in downtown Marion, and yes, I'm going on another long-winded rant. I was working in downtown Marion at a place called Prince Agri Products. They have since closed down and tore down the plant. Um, I was in the National Guard at the time, and right before lunch, I get a phone call, and I figured something was going to happen because I gotten some emails and I got permission from my manager to keep my cell phone on me, and my phone rang right before lunch, and it was my commanding officer. He said, "This is it. We're getting called up. We're going to flood duty," and he forwarded me to one of my sergeants who would collect information on because it's protocol when you get called up in the National Guard to give a time frame on how you can get there if you live outside of a certain radius. It's like a 25-mile radius from where the armory is. You have to give a timeline on when you're going to be there and
yeah.
stuff. So my sergeant asked me, "Well, how long do you think it's going to take to get there?" I said, "I honestly have no idea." And he goes, "Why? Where do you live?" And I go, "Cedar Rapids, Iowa." And he goes, "OS." Pretty sure you can fill in the rest. So I said, "Well, what can we do, Sergeant? What can we do to figure this out? What do you want from me? I'll make anything you want happen." He said, "Well, get here quickly as soon as you possibly can to get here safely. We need you in one piece." All right, fine. So I get home, take a shower. I'm trying to get reports from my wife because she's at work, but she's trying to give me information on which roads are open, which roads are closed, because I knew a bunch of them were closed around here.
Yeah.
At that moment in time, the only road out of the Cedar Rapids general area was 380 north. I had to take. I wound up having. I thought I could. I heard from one of my friends that Highway 30 going east was open. Well, I made it all the way to the Wapsie, and it was flooded. So I had to turn around and go all the way back on 30, go all the way back, retraced my steps back to 380. I wound up going north on 380 to Highway 20, going east on 20 for a little bit, and I can't remember what highway I got off on, but I went back north on some other highway, took that up into the very southeastern tip of Minnesota, and I had to drive all the way to Interstate, what is that? Interstate 39 in south central Wisconsin. Take that south to Interstate 88, and then take that west into the Quad Cities. It wound up taking me like 6.5 hours to get to my National Guard armory, which on a bad traffic day on any other day would take me no more than 2.
Yeah. See, that's why the flood was that bad. So,
Yeah.
but that's how bad it was and is down there.
I feel their pain. I feel their pain, every bit of it.
So, and here's a note. This goes back to my dead father, God bless him, but he was in the National Guard, and he did
Nice.
flood duty.
Really?
In the flood of 1965.
Really? Here in Cedar Rapids?
No, in Clinton.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he did that because he always mentioned that when he was alive. But so he had to do it. But the 65 flood was mainly a Mississippi River thing, because anybody on the Mississippi River would know, from the Twin Cities all the way down, would know the 65 flood.
Oh yeah.
That was a bad one. So, although a bad one in terms that 93 was really bad, 2008 was not as bad on the Mississippi. It was mainly the tributary problem in Iowa, because St. Louis in 2008, the flood in St. Louis was like, eh.
But you go down to Memphis though, and point south, and it was the worst flood they'd ever had.
Not in 2008. They had no flooding in 2008. 2008, the flooding just went and it stopped.
What am I thinking of? Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of 2011. I apologize.
Yeah, there was a nasty flood down there, and that was, yeah. And Memphis has had really bad flooding on the Mississippi this year.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And they're still having some bad flooding, because there's a lot of rivers and tributaries in Tennessee, down through Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, they're still flooding. Because
they're still draining off from all that rain.
Yeah, so they don't want any more rain, but unfortunately they keep getting it. So, and then California is getting rain and gotten a lot of precipitation, especially in Northern California, but Southern California is getting nothing. So,
yeah, there are irrigation lakes now in Central California now that are after, what is it, a 3 or a 4 year deficit. The lakes are now back to average levels.
Yeah.
After being nearly empty.
Yeah. And there's some in Northern California that are almost full.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, so
LA's water supply and Las Vegas's water supply lives to see another year.
Yeah, until the next drought starts, which will probably be next month. So.
Probably.
Anyway, so that's happened down there, and I don't see anything exciting. I don't think rain or snow showers are exciting for tomorrow, but the 100th episode is next week. Don't know what I'm doing for that. Don't know what we might do, because I know it's also going to be, we may end up doing 2 shows. So there's going to be your note on that if you're going to be around.
Okay, I should be, yeah.
I know next week is also the anniversary of Tri-State. So we may do a show on that. Getting a guest for that, I'm not even going to try. I mean,
actually, today is the anniversary of the Tri-State tornado.
Oh, today is. Yeah, duh. Yeah, today is. I'm dumb. So, yeah, my mind is not with it today. So, yeah, it's today.
That is completely okay. I'm right there with you.
The end. So, and I still can't find my book, and I know I have it. So, and I'm going to look for it again. So,
Oh,
But
I found an awesome book at Barnes and Noble the other day.
What was it?
I will show you. It is on my coffee table.
Oh dear.
It is called Storm Warning: The Origins of the Weather Forecast from Pauline Halford.
Okay.
It's a story about basically how the UK Met Office came to be.
Oh. I'm sure Nick Miller would be thrilled about that. Who works at the Met Office and has been on the show before. So I did get a response from him. I mentioned that a couple of episodes ago about that. So, but yeah, we'll figure something out for episode 100. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but we'll figure something out. And then trying to get guests on is like trying to pull teeth, I swear.
I got response back. I didn't send you that email yet because it just happened about 2 hours ago, but I got response back from my buddy Corey. And he said he wants to come on the show, but he's not sure when yet. He's the guy that just got that just graduated with his bachelor's in emergency management
Okay.
not too long ago.
Okay.
And he's a big weather buff. He's a photographer as well. I don't think he was out Tuesday because I know he had to work that day.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't get a chance to make it out to either down south or the northern event because he lives in the Quad Cities.
Yeah. No, yeah, why bother if he lives in the Quad Cities? All he had to do was just drive through the Quad Cities and he would have seen it.
Well, he lives a little bit south in a really small town, and it's a little bit of a drive for him, and he's married with kids and stuff like that, so it's a little hard for him to get out.
Yeah, also known as actually having family time. That means
having a real life.
Yeah, so we'll give him a break. But anyway, so we have that maybe coming whenever. So after that, I'm still going to try to do an April 27th thing. If I have to, I'm going to start getting people and getting them angry at me. If not, what I might do, I'm going to try this because I'm going to email people again, and I'm going to and we're if I have to tape stuff, I will, and which could make it a real mess. But we'll see what we can come up with for another April 27th show. So. Because I am going to buy the books that they mentioned on the show because I finally found them. So I'm going to try to buy those and read them because I thought that'd be a good thing to discuss with the 5-year anniversary. So that'll be upcoming, we hope. So outside of that, it's up in the air. So we'll see what happens. So other than
definitely,
do we have anything else? Whoops.
I don't think so. Not looking forward to this colder weather, but hey, it's March in Iowa. Can't complain too much. There's no snow on the ground.
So, unfortunately, I had the sad state that I had to turn my heat on for the first time in 3 weeks. Last night I didn't have it on. My temperature in my apartment fell to 65.
Ooh, that's a little chilly.
Yeah, I was like, yep, I have to turn the heat back on.
That's why you feel like crap right now. You're getting sick, sir.
No, because I'm actually fine. I felt fine until about 2 hours ago, and I think it's because I ate. I ate. This is the sad state of affairs for me because I was like, I don't want to make dinner because if I make a dinner right before Polygon, then I'll be like, oh, and I don't want to be in an case when I'm doing a Polygon because I want to be kind of chipper and ooh, yay, storms. So I ate the worst thing I could eat. I had a big block of cheese, cut up half of it, then cut it up into little things. Then I opened my box of sweet onion wheat thins. And
ooh, those are good.
Yes, and proceeded to put cheese in between sweet onion wheat thins and eat those, and proceeded to eat 2/3 of a box.
Wow, you sir are doing well.
So that made me tired. So
I am getting ready to have myself a man's dinner. I have the house to myself for the weekend. During the middle of the show, my wife and my mother-in-law took off for Des Moines. They're going to go spend a little mother-daughter time in Des Moines for the weekend. So I'm going to drive myself to my local meat department, and I'm going to get some steak and grill me some steak for dinner.
as in like right now.
As soon as we get done with the show.
Okay, we're gonna get done so he can get his steak.
I'm going to test drive my mother-in-law's new car. Her exact words are, "I absolutely hate this thing. I cannot see at night. I'm gonna die in this thing." So I'm gonna go see what's going on with this thing.
Okay.
Has something to do with the headlights. They're the new LED headlights.
Oh.
I think I have an idea what it is.
Okay.
I think they just need to be adjusted, which I can't do because they're a sealed. The entire headlight bezel is sealed.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to drive it to the store and get my pseudo professional opinion on that.
Okay, so while he goes and tries to get himself into an accident, thank everybody for watching this episode. You can try to do this every week when we can. So for Matt, who's going to be driving a death machine to the meat market, and Jeff, myself, who's in my apartment with a full stomach of wheat thins. Thank you for watching Polygon, and hope the weather is great where you are. And if it's not, well, too bad, because I can't help you. So
We're not HARP.
yeah. So bye. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Warm up.
Bye.
Cool down. Goodbye. Yay. Whatever.